In every corner of the world, whether in the bustling streets of New York or the serene villages of Pakistan, the virtue of modesty stands as one of the most beautiful ornaments of a woman's soul. Modesty is not confined to a specific culture, color, or creed. It is a universal reflection of purity, grace, and inner strength. Though its expression may differ from one land to another, its essence remains the same, a quiet dignity that speaks louder than adornment, and a light that radiates from the heart of a woman who values her worth before the eyes of her Creator. In Pakistan, modesty is deeply woven into the social and spiritual fabric of life. It is cherished not only as a moral virtue, but as a part of identity, an act of faith that connects a woman to her roots, to her culture, and to her sense of divine purpose. But when a woman travels beyond her homeland, to the lands of the West, or to countries where culture has been detached from faith, her modesty often becomes a test. It becomes a challenge between holding on to values that define her soul and blending into an environment that constantly whispers for conformity. Women living in other countries, far from their traditional surroundings, face a world that often mistakes modesty for weakness and silence for submission. But in truth, modesty is not a cage. It is a crown. It is not the denial of beauty, but the refinement of it. A modest woman is not one who hides herself from the world, but one who reveals her character through grace, humility, and wisdom. Her strength lies not in competing with men, but in completing the moral fabric of civilization itself. In many societies, the standards of beauty are distorted, created by industries, promoted by screens, and celebrated without conscience. Yet, even in those lands, there are women whose hearts remain untamed by vanity. They choose simplicity over glamour, virtue over validation, and faith over fashion. These are the women who, through their quiet example, remind the world that elegance begins with integrity, not appearance. Their modesty becomes their language, a universal message of purity that transcends borders. And truly, if one looks deeply, it is the woman who defines the beauty of a male-dominated society. Without her presence, her grace, and her emotional depth, the world of men would be nothing but a structure of strength without soul. It is through her existence that compassion breathes into civilization, that art takes shape, and that morality gains meaning. The beauty of the world, even in its masculinity, is only because of the entity of woman, for she is the fragrance that softens power, the rhythm that balances strength, and the conscience that guides hearts toward goodness. Modesty in the modern world does not mean isolation from progress. It means progress with principles. It is about being educated yet humble, visible yet virtuous, modern yet mindful. Whether she wears a hijab in Paris, a sari in Delhi, or a long coat in Toronto, her modesty becomes her signature. A silent revolution in a world that too often forgets the sanctity of self-respect. Such women carry within them the honor of generations, an unbroken chain of dignity passed down from the noble women of history who stood firm before kings and empires, yet bowed only before God. History itself bears witness to how women of faith preserved humanity's conscience. From Mary, the mother of Jesus, peace be upon him, to Fatima Zahra, peace be upon her, the beloved daughter of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, their modesty was their strength. They taught the world that the purity of a woman's soul can shape the destiny of nations. Even in today's world, where moral values are fading and self-image is often sold for acceptance, the modest woman stands as a reminder that honor cannot be purchased. It is lived. When a woman dresses and behaves with modesty, she sends a silent message. I know my worth. She refuses to let society dictate her value based on appearance or applause. She belongs not to the eyes of the world, but to the heart of her Creator. And in that belonging lies the highest form of freedom, the freedom from exploitation, the freedom from comparison, and the freedom from the chains of superficial admiration. For women living abroad, surrounded by ideologies that often blur right and wrong, modesty becomes an act of silent resistance. It is a form of dawah, moral invitation, a way to remind others that true empowerment begins when a woman honors herself. When she stands for her faith and carries herself with grace, she becomes a walking message of divine strength. She becomes a reflection of heaven's light amidst the glitter of worldly illusions. In essence, modesty is not only about how a woman dresses, it is about how she walks through life, with dignity, self-awareness, and compassion. It is about protecting her heart from corruption and keeping her intentions pure before Allah. The world may forget, trends may change, and cultures may shift, but the essence of modesty will always remain the same. A divine garment that beautifies. The soul more than any fabric could adorn the body. So let the women of all nations remember, you are not defined by the noise of modernity, but by the light of morality. Your modesty is your strength, your silence is your voice, and your purity is your power. You are the radiant hearts that sustain civilization. And in a world that tries to blur the difference between right and wrong, your modesty becomes a reminder that the divine still lives within human hearts.